Hello everyone, I CA Sushil Gupta. Welcome you all to today's webinar, and the topic of today's webinar is adjudication process under PMLA. Friends, and today's speaker of our webinar is Advocate CA Gagan Kumar. Though he needs no introduction, since he is very eloquent and eminent speaker, and he has been speaking uh, on various platforms. But formally, I would like to introduce him. See, Advocate Gagan Kumar is a commerce graduate from Delhi University, and he is a member of Bar Council of Delhi and a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is senior partner in Krishnomics Legal, and before establishing Krishnomics Legal, he was working as a principal associate with Amarchand and Mangaldas, now known as Shradul Amarchand Mangaldas Advocates. He has also worked with KPMG and brings with him over 2 decades of extensive experience. He specializes in taxation, commercial litigation, and white collar crimes, and has successfully represented various corporates before Supreme Court, High Courts, tax tribunals, district court, National Company Law Tribunal, and various consumer forums. He routinely appears before Delhi High Court. He has an impressive success rate in unconventional matters. Notably, he has also appeared before the Permanent Court of Arbitration, Hague, as an expert witness. Over the year, he has also advised several domestic and international companies, private equity funds, as well as various not-for-profit organizations on issues pertaining to corporate tax, transfer pricing, mergers, and restructuring, tax prosecution, goods and service tax, value-added tax, central excise, customs, and other laws like FEMA, FCRA, PMLA. Additionally, he also sits on the board of several companies as an independent director. He frequently speaks at national and international forums and on TV channels. He regularly contributes articles to various national and international journals and newspapers. Presently, he is also president of Rotary Club of Delhi West for the year 22-23, and he is on the panel meant for senior counsels for Union of India before Delhi High Court. And he has been recognized as tax controversy leader, International Tax Review London, during the year 2013 to 21, and he is also been recognized as India's leading corporate tax lawyer, the International Who is Who Legal, during the year 2012. Friends, he has also authored 2 books, namely Tax Prosecution under Income Tax, GST and Black Money Law, and secondly, Search and Seizure under Income Tax Act. Friends, Advocate Gagan is very eminent speaker, and he has with him very vast experience. And I would now like Advocate Gagan Kumar to start his presentation. Please, sir.
Thank you, Sushilji, and thanks for the elaborate introduction. Today, I guess the topic is offenses under money laundering and how they are adjudicated. And these days, money laundering is the key word, and in the present day, also, like even in today, one of the high-profile politician is being interrogated by the enforcement directorate. The other day, I was attending a hearing there, and some of the journalists were there, and someone quipped that is it a Parvartan Nideshalaya or Prathadan Nideshalaya? So, so that's the kind of image which is being built up sometimes with the investigation authorities. But I then often say that none of the investigation has resulted in a manner where one can say that nothing was found. So, invariably, wherever an ED has started an investigation, they have unearthed some scam, some corruption, some money laundering. So, now why there was a need for law to prevent money laundering? The discussion goes back way back in 1987 when in one of the judgment Supreme Court observed that money laundering is a serious offense, for that matter even any economic offense, because unlike the other offenses which are normally prosecutable under IPC, be it rape or any fight or anything or murder, uh, economic offense is something which is done with a very cool head, with lot of elaborate planning, and the person committing this offense is very much aware of what he is doing. So therefore, there was a need was felt to bring a law to contain the money laundering. Now, how money laundering exactly take place? So broadly, there are three stages. First is that the illegal money is placed somewhere, then a layering is created, and ultimately it is integrated into the what we call loosely call as white money. We often come across, being chartered accountants, cases of search and seizure and penny stocks. We have often witnessed that how money changes its color. So essentially, if there is a placement and there is a layering and thereafter an integration into the formal economy, that is loosely called as money laundering. Now, before we go further, and I understand that the idea today is to give an overview, because any of our client, if they receive any notice, there is a fear immediately. कि साहब ईडी से नोटिस आ गया है. So we should understand that what are the authorities we are dealing with. So under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, there are broadly two authorities. One we have heard enough of it, called Enforcement Directorate, and the second is Adjudicating Authority. So, like we have under income tax or under GST, it is normally the investigation officer who passes the order in itself. So, like in income tax, we have assessing officer. An assessing officer calls for information, looks through the information, and then ultimately passes an assessment order. So, in that sense, he's in a unique situation where he's an investigator as well as an adjudicator, and he assesses the tax. And thereafter, obviously, the process of appeal and other things begin. But in money laundering, there are two. These are two distinct functions given to two distinct authorities. The role of enforcement directorate is essentially to investigate, and whatever they investigate, they give this information to adjudicating authority, and then adjudicating authority takes a call whether there was a money laundering or not. That's the civil aspect of it. Require the attachment of property or confiscation of the property. But then there is another authority which is technically not an authority but a code, a criminal code, which is specially designated pursuant to the PMLA law, where a complaint is filed after the inquiry of investigation is complete, the investigation report is complete. Thereafter, a formal complaint is filed, and considering the nature of offences which are more than 3 years, the punishment for which is more than 3 years, a warrant trial commences at the special court. So, very quickly, once you have an order from adjudicating authority, the appeal against that order lies before appellate tribunal under the PMLA. And as I said a while back, that the criminal complaint is pursued before special court, that is Court of Session. In Delhi, we have it at the Rouse Avenue. So, just to depict it graphically, the starting point is scheduled offense. So, it is not in every case that ED will come knocking on your door. First condition or prerequisite is that there has to be a scheduled offense. Now, just for those who are not familiar with what is a scheduled offense, there is a schedule under the PMLA Act wherein there are certain offenses which have been notified. And I'll give an illustration for the sake of understanding. Like for under, if there is an offense which has been committed under Indian Penal Code, which relates to criminal conspiracy or waging or attempting to wage war against the country, or murder or attempt to murder, or offenses relating to kidnapping, extortion, robbery, dacoity, stolen property, cheating, fraud. So, if any of these kinds of offenses have been carried out, that is the starting point. It is only if there is an offense under the predicate offense, as we call it, has been committed, only then this law can be invoked. If there is no predicate offense, then this law cannot be invoked. Now, often in our recent experience, what we are witnessing is that if there is an offense which is noted by SFIO under the Companies Act, under Section 447 of the Companies Act, which essentially for fraud, corporate fraud. Now, that also becomes a predicate offense. So, if any of such things have happened, then the next step is that the ED will register an ECIR, which is akin to an FIR, and thereafter the investigation will begin. After the investigation is over, then we move on to the adjudicating authority for dealing with the attachment of property or retention of documents. Thereafter, if you are aggrieved by an order of the appellate authority, adjudicating authority, we file an appeal before the tribunal, and if we are still aggrieved, we go to High Court and then ultimately to Supreme Court. But once a investigation is over and a complaint is filed, it is treated as a criminal proceeding which is dealt exclusively by a designated court, special court, which ultimately decides whether the accused is guilty or not guilty. And obviously, if you are aggrieved, then you have remedies available to go to higher courts. Now, as I said in the beginning, that the starting point is commission of a scheduled offense. So recently there was this judgment where the offense was under Prevention of Corruption Act, and thereafter ED moved in. The court held that since prevention of the offenses under Prevention of Corruption Act are not stipulated as scheduled offense, therefore it is wrong for the enforcement directorate to invoke PMLA. So if any client approaches us, that's the first thing you have to find out, that whether there is a scheduled offense or not. If yes, please check the schedule given under the PMLA Act and see what kind of offense has been carried out. And only in that situation, the court, the ED will proceed further. Now, once there is a scheduled offense, the enforcement directorate will register what we call as ECIR, Enforcement Case Information Report. That is the starting point. So, like in police case, there is an FIR. In PMLA cases, it is the ECIR. So, and the important thing which you also need to bear in mind is that ECIR is generally not shared with the accused. So if any of your client is called by ED, and if you want to understand that what prompted ED to even register a case against your client, you may have to grapple in dark until the case proceeds further, and then obviously once the any statement is recorded or any summon is issued by the authorities, and your client happens to attend that, then only they would probably be able to make out that what exactly prompted ED to file ECIR in the first place. The next stage comes is that ED is entitled to issue a summon to call for any person, and it is very wide power. Uh, we know that lately one of the celebrated politician is being called frequently to the office of ED. That is probably pursuant to a summon issued under Section 50. Since I am not privy to the facts of the case, therefore I am using the expression probably. Now, this is a very wide power given to ED, wherein they can call for any person, ask him to bring in any record, and record his statement. Now, at this juncture, one point one should bear in mind: there are umpteen number of judgments which says that if you make any statement before the officer of ED, it may be used against the accused because, unlike the Evidence Act, which expressly prohibits that a statement made to a police officer cannot be considered as an evidence, there is no such bar under PMLA. The reason is very simple, that the officers of ED are not treated as police officer. So any statement which is made in front of an ED officer can be considered as a confession also, and hence admissible as an evidence. So this is one point which you should always warn your clients, that when they are going to give a statement to ED, they may not be able to retract, or unless there are cogent reasons to show that the statement was made under coercion, um, it may be admissible in court of law.
Sir,
Sections, yeah,
sir, I
it
have a
is,
question over here.
yes.
Like in GST and income tax, generally we receive someone or they are issued very casually. But in case of a PMLA, what I have understood is that first there is an FIR which is called ECIR, and then thereafter summons are issued. So it means we should not treat summons issued under PMLA as a routine summons, but they should be considered very seriously. It means because a complaint has already been registered, or a FIR has already been registered
So you are right to an extent, but there are the other aspect also, that summon can be issued to a witness also.
to a
So even
witness.
if there is no ECIR registered against someone,
Hmm.
but the department feels that the person has some information or some knowledge, he may also be called upon. So, for example, a corporate fraud has taken place, the ECIR is registered against the promoter. There could be a possibility that the CFO or the auditor or the internal auditor may also be called, just to gather in more evidence against the promoter. So it is not necessary that if ED has issued you a summon,
Hmm.
invariably it would lead to a conclusion that there is an ECIR against you. It may not be
Okay.
so in all the cases.
Actually, what I have seen generally is that someone bears the name of the addressee or noticee only. It doesn't mention the case in which the person has been summoned, but it simply says that I am investigating and can a complaint or some inquiry is being carried out or investigation is being carried out me. Therefore, you are requested to appear on this date, and there is generally a huge list. Then generally they ask for 5 to 10 years of data. What are your investment? Come along with your income tax returns. Come with your investment list of assets. So generally they don't carry any. They don't mention in which case I have been summoned.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. And that is why people get often scared the moment they receive any summon
Yes.
from
Hmm.
enforcement directorate. And you see, that's the reason. See, the idea of today's discussion is essentially to understand that what the procedure is. Obviously, there would be situations which we have not dealt with, and um, there could be instances which are still untested. That to what extent the information can be asked for. Like
Yes,
for
yes.
example, you said that there's someone which asked for information relating to 10 years.
10 years,
Now,
yes.
as per the Companies Act, you are not required to retain books of accounts beyond 8 years. So, how would someone produce those 2 years which are not there?
Hmm.
So, those cases would come and would have to be seen from case to case basis, and depending on the facts of the case. But at the same time, one should not be evasive in their reply, because the more evasive you act or the client acts, the more suspicion it raises in the mind of the officer, and they may keep on digging or keep on interrogating, keep on calling until they are fully convinced. Now it is up to you that how much effort or how much pain are you willing to take to, if you are being called as a witness, to protect your, if I were to use the expression, bosses or friends or relatives. So one obviously will have to be mindful of those things. Now the other power is power of survey. This is similar to what we have under income tax or GST, that the officer can come and survey and do whatever the information they want to gather, they can take copies of that. The challenging part comes under section 17. Now, here also they can come and search the premises and make certain seizure also. The procedure is that if there is a search and a seizure, they have to make an application before the adjudicating authority within 30 days, requesting that the seized material be retained more than 180 days. If they do not make any such application, they are duty bound to return everything after the expiry of 180 days. But in our experience, the adjudicating authority, in a very routine manner, permits them to retain it beyond 180 days. But there also the maximum limit is 365 days, or till the time the investigation is completed. So that's on the search aspect. Similarly, Section 18 gives power to the officer if they have reason to believe that someone has secreted the assets which were possibly obtained or created from proceeds of crime, then they may search such person also and take assets from him also. Now, Section 19 deals with arrest. Section 19 provides that if the officer has reason to believe that the person is involved in money laundering, then he may arrest the person. Now, why the arrest under PMLA gains so much of attention unlike any other usual arrest? The answer to that lies in Section 45. Section 45, prior to its amendment, provided that no bail can be granted unless the public prosecutor has been given an opportunity to oppose the bail, and the court is satisfied that the reasonable ground exists for believing that the person is not guilty of the offense. Which offense? Prior to amendment, it essentially referred to the scheduled offense. Now, there the Supreme Court observed that that would mean that he will not get bail unless the court decides that under the scheduled offense he was not guilty. So that is taking away, that is going Uh, am I there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, there's something happened on my screen, so I thought probably I listened. Sorry. So the court said that that is going beyond the scope of the law, and the court had struck it down, and ultimately it was amended, and whereby the reference to the scheduled offence was removed. So the challenging part still remains that in a bail proceeding, unlike a normal offence where essentially two or three elements need to be established to obtain a bail, that the accused is not a flight risk, he has roots in the society and is not going to tamper with the evidence. If these three elements are reasonably established before courts, courts generally grant bail. Unlike PMLA, where it is to be demonstrated that the court is satisfied that he will he did not commit this offense. So a view has to be formed by court essentially, which is as good as carrying out the entire trial. And therefore, seeking bail under PMLA is much more challenging as compared to seeking bail for any other offense under IPC or any other law. This was the judgment Nikesh Tarachand Shah versus Union of India, which I was referring to. That the court held that the precondition under Section 45(1) reverses the presumption of innocence by mandating the court to determine whether the accused is not guilty of the scheduled offense. Ultimately, in 2018, the amendment came and now it was reworded and it is not relating to scheduled offense. Attachment of property I have already discussed. So there could be a provisional attachment of property as well in terms of Section 5, where the Enforcement Directorate again has reason to believe that the asset is acquired out of proceeds of crime and it is likely that he may dispose of the asset, they may make a provisional attachment. Even for the provisional attachment would last for 180 days unless they go to the adjudicating authority and seek an extension. Such an order are obviously contestable before the higher authorities. Now, this is the sort of, if I may were to put it like this is the civil aspect of the law. Now we come to the criminal aspect. Criminal aspect, once the investigation is completed, then a formal complaint is filed with the court. Court would take its cognizance, and the provisions of CRPC would apply henceforth for carrying out the trial. And after the trial is concluded, and if the court is of the view that the accused is not guilty, then whatever assets have been attached, those would be released. If any accounts were frozen, those were also be unfrozen. And if he is found guilty, then all those assets will be confiscated, and obviously the punishment, depending on the nature of offense and the degree of the offense, between 3 to 7 years, the um, sentencing could take place. Very quickly, we'll just take you through some of the important judgments under PMLA. We all may remember what happened in the case of Mr. P. Chidambaram. The important observation was that Section 71 of PMLA overrides all other acts. So, in that sense, it supersedes any provision which is there under CRPC regarding bail, etc. It overrides that. Secondly, as I stated in the beginning, that scheduled offense is a sine qua non for the offense of money laundering. Because money laundering is a step two of the scheduled offense. It can essentially it is the illegitimate money, or as the legally it is the expression is used, proceeds of crime, which is sought to be converted into legitimate money or white money as we normally understand. Now, here is the other important aspect. Unlike the other criminal offenses, the accused is considered innocent unless proved. But by virtue of Section 24, the burden of proof is on the accused. So, if there is an ECIR, there is a presumption that the accused has done money laundering, and it is up to him to prove that he did not. So that's an important departure from the normal criminal law, where the burden of proof lies on the accused. The basic principle is that the burden of proof lies on the person who alleges. So if in a normal scenario where police files a complaint, the burden of proof lies on the prosecution to prove it beyond reasonable doubt that the offense was committed. In PMLA, it is the reverse way. The accused has to prove that he did not commit the offense of money laundering. Now, in this recent judgment of 2019, this was essentially a reiteration of understood principle that a person cannot be called as an accused unless he is found to have been involved in the offense of money laundering. They cannot be treated as an accused at the stage of inquiry. So, as we are seeing in our recent past, those who are being investigated, they all are not labeled as an accused. And that also answers your initial question that if you are summoned to ED's office, does it naturally lead to a conclusion that the since you have been called to ED's office, therefore you are an accused? No, that is not the presumption. We touched upon this that if a statement is given to the ED, it would be admissible. The only thing is that once he is arrested, and if he makes any statement after arrest, then it will not be admissible as an evidence in court of law. So this is the brief overview. I would be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Sir, I have a query.
Yes.
Mm, Generally, what I believe is there are two types of money. matlab, from the angle of the propriety, one is unethical and second is illegal. Unethical, I mean the money on which I have not paid the due taxes, by way which is on which I have taken undue advantage by either by way of any exemption, deduction, or any other thing under Income Tax Act. But the source or the business is perfectly legal, and the illegal money is one where the business or the source of money is itself is a illegal. So can PMLA be attracted on this unethical money as well? Like in case of Section 68, cash credit in the during the demonetization, we had deposited cash in our account. So can PMLA be attracted on this amount as well?
No. So you will have to understand whether that constitute proceeds of crime or not. Now, deposit of money during demonetization is not an offense per se. But if you had collected that money by way of an extortion, then an offense under IPC has been committed. So there is a predicate offense now, there is a scheduled offense. The natural consequences thereof would be invocation of PML. But merely having an addition under Section 68 of Income Tax Act, that is not a scheduled offense. So in that, merely by addition under Section 68, PMLA does not get attracted.
It doesn't get attracted. Okay.
Yes,
So the commitment of an scheduled offense is prerequisite for invocation of PMLA Act.
absolutely.
Okay. Second, sir, you have stated that there is getting bail is really tough in PMLA. So it means if a person has got bail, so can we assume that prima facie that person is not guilty?
At that moment, the court must have formed a view that yes, he is not guilty and therefore might have granted the bail. But as the trial would progress, as the evidences would come, as the arguments would take place, the court may change its view. So it is not a guarantee that if the bail has been granted, that means he is absolved of the crime. It is not an acquittal in that sense.
It is not an acquittal. So at a particular moment of time, based on the available records, but the court has concluded or comes to a conclusion that the person may not be guilty.
And it is only the reasonable view at that
It is in
stage.
the
It is
view.
not the final view.
Okay, right, sir. If anybody has any query, you may put in chat box. Sir, there is a query. Sir, what can be the possible cases which are considered to be offenses under this provision?
So you must refer to the schedule appended to the PMLA, and you would find they have given an elaborate list. These are not all offences, but many offences under IPC or offences under Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, offences under Explosive Substance Act, offences under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, offences under Arms Act, Wildlife Protection Act, Immoral Trafficking Act, Prevention of Corruption Act, offences under Explosive Act, this thing, antiques and art treasure, some provisions under SEBI, Customs Act, Section 135, Bonded Labor Abolition Act. So there's a huge list which is given in the schedule. So you'll have to first see whether your client has committed any of those offences. Only then PMLA will be invoked.
Any other query? Sir, I have a query. If
Yes, sir.
my client has been summoned or there is a complaint against him, and he has been arrested as well, and he had made payment to me towards professional charges, so can I be questioned or that PMLA can be invoked against me as well being professional, because we
So,
are knowingly unknowingly are connected with a lot of persons.
so the expression proceeds of crime has been given a very wide meaning. Now, unless we participated in it, it may not be regarded as proceeds of crime, and hence there would not be any risk.
Diplomatic answer.
Not diplomatic, you see, again, it would vary from facts to facts. Because if someone, so for example, I'll give you an example. If the CA is actively involved in providing entry
Hmm.
and making money on the side, then obviously he can't absolve himself that साहब मैं तो CA हूँ मेरे को क्या पता. But if he is merely an auditor जो साल में एक बार आके audit करके चला जाता है अपनी audit fees ले रहा है. Now how do I know from where he is getting the money? Because that process has already been done. I am only auditing the company. So he might have already converted that money. Therefore, I'm saying that depending on the facts.
So it means I should not be accomplice.
You should not be.
If I am not, then PMLA cannot be invoked against me.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
First of all, again, there has to be a scheduled offense, and proceeds of crime must have been involved.
Right, sir. I welcome CA Rajendra Oda as well. Welcome Rajendra ji.
नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
सर आपकी कोई क्वेरी है तो पूछिए।
मेरी?
हाँ जी सर, आपके पास तो क्वेरीज आती रहती होंगी।
सर मेरे को आप जो है मतलब नाम ही इतना जो है खतरनाक सा है PMLA, तो इसमें ना ही इन्वॉल्व करो। मैं तो ऑलरेडी फेक इनवॉइसिंग और इन सब चीज़ों से बहुत जूझ रहा हूँ तो पहले चलो, आपने मुझे मौका दिया है तो सबसे पहले तो मैं गगन कुमार सर का, एडवोकेट साहब, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट सर हैं जो हमारे बड़े भाई साहब भी हैं, उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि उन्होंने हमारा निमंत्रण स्वीकार किया और यहाँ आकर इस मंच की शोभा बढ़ाई और अपने ज्ञान से हमारे मित्रों का ज्ञानवर्धन किया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। और सुशील जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। थैंक यू सर। और सुशील जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि वो हमेशा भरसक प्रयास करते रहते हैं अपने इस इनकम टैक्स मंत्रा में कि नई नई बातों पर बात की जाए। और देखिए, एज अ प्रोफेशनल मैं अपनी पर्सनल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ये मानता हूँ कि मैं किसी भी कानून की अगर मैं प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ तो उस कानून के निर्माण और उसके डेवलपमेंट, उसकी कंस्ट्रक्शन और उसकी डेवलपमेंट में मुझे पूरा रोल प्ले करना चाहिए। सिर्फ कंप्लायंस में या उसका पालन करवाने में ही मेरी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, वो तो है ही है, साथ ही साथ उसके डेवलपमेंट में, उसकी 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 डिफरेंट टेंजेंट्स को स्टडी करने में और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, एग्जीक्यूटिव्स की हेल्प करने में मेरा बहुत बड़ा भूमिका, मेरी प्रमुख भूमिका है। जिस काम को सुशील जी कर रहे हैं और गगन सर जो हैं, वो अभी रिसेंटली सर का एक बहुत ही सुंदर 148 पे आर्टिकल भी हमें पढ़ने का सुअवसर प्राप्त हुआ। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर उसके लिए। और गगन सर और मैं तो खैर मतलब वी आर लाइक ब्रदर्स ओनली, वी हैव बीन टुगेदर फॉर मोर देन नाउ 15 इयर्स नाउ। और सर का रिच एक्सपीरियंस जो है वो अर्थव्यवस्था के साथ साथ सामाजिक कार्यों में भी बहुत ज़्यादा इनका जो है एक तरह से योगदान रहता है। तो बहुत सारे मित्र आए बीच में और अब थोड़े से कम ही मित्र लगे हुए हैं हमारे साथ इस समय, लेकिन जितने भी मित्र हमारे साथ आए इस प्रोग्राम में जुड़े, उन सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और ये एक नया टॉपिक है और मैं समझता हूँ कि प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग जो है, it should be of very very significance, greater significance in terms of our economy's development. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इस पर देखिए, आई एम कम्प्लीटली नोविस, अदर देन जीएसटी आई डोंट रीड एनीथिंग। मैंने सर को उस दिन भी ये बात पर्सनली भी बोली थी। तो लेकिन मुझे इसकी बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत लगती है इस समय, क्योंकि कोई भी इकोनॉमी जब तक ऑर्गेनाइज नहीं होगी, जब तक एक स्टेबिलिटी के साथ एक सही दिशा में नहीं बढ़ेगी, तब तक हम ग्रोथ नहीं कर सकते। अभी मैं एक आर्टिकल पढ़ रहा था तो जिसमें 5 ट्रिलियन यूएसडी की इकोनॉमी की हम बात करते हैं, हमारे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का सपना है। तो सुशील जी, अगर आप मुझे परमिट करें, हालांकि ये जीएसटी मंत्रा नहीं है, इनकम टैक्स मंत्रा है, तो
प्लीज कैरी ऑन सर, कैरी ऑन।
3 ट्रिलियन यूएसडी की इकोनॉमी की हम आज प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन पे बैठे हैं। 5 ट्रिलियन की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो जीएसटी एक बहुत प्रमुख भूमिका निभाने के उसका सक्षम है। वो किस तरह से, मैं केवल 2 बातें आपसे बात करता हूँ। एक तो हमें जीएसटी रेट रैशनलाइजेशन करना चाहिए और दूसरा हमें ई वे बिल, मूवमेंट ऑफ गुड्स को रैशनलाइज करना चाहिए। इन दोनों, सर मैं, गगन सर, आप तो खुद भी इकोनॉमिस्ट भी रहे हैं और आपकी फर्म का नाम बड़ा सुंदर है, भगवान कृष्ण पे, कृष्णोमिक्स, तो मेरे लिए तो वो नाम ही अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा है। तो सर एक डाटा अभी जो हमारी जो रिपोर्ट्स आई बजट के टाइम पर, तो हमने देखा कि हमारा जो एस्टिमेटेड एक्सपेंडिचर ऑफ द कंट्री है 2022-23 का, वो 40 लाख करोड़ रुपए का है। और सर आप पिछले 3 महीने से कंसिस्टेंटली देख रहे हैं कि एवरेज 1.5 लाख करोड़ रुपया जीएसटी से रेवेन्यू आ रहा है। तो हमारा यहाँ पर ये सिर्फ मेरा एक 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 एक, एक सोच है कि 20 लाख करोड़ रुपया लगभग जो है केवल जीएसटी से, हम जो हमारा 40 लाख करोड़ का खर्चा है, केवल जीएसटी से 20 लाख करोड़ का हम खर्चा रिकवर कर सकते हैं। तो कितना बड़ा सब्जेक्ट है, एक बहुत बड़ा सोशल रिफॉर्म है। कल एक बिजनेसमैन मेरे सामने आए, बहुत बड़े बिजनेसमैन हैं, तो वो भी मतलब बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बात उन्होंने कही। उन्होंने कहा कि जीएसटी आने से हमारी जिंदगी बहुत आसान हो गई है। बिजनेस की बात कर रहे हैं। पहले वैट रिजीम में बहुत सारे कंसेशनल रेट ऑफ टैक्स के फॉर्म्स होते थे, बहुत सारी और कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज होती थी। आप एक स्टेट में धंधा कर रहे हैं, आप 20 स्टेट्स में धंधा कर रहे हैं, तो आपको 20 स्टेट्स के कानूनों की जानकारी होनी चाहिए। आज ऐसा नहीं है, आज यूनिफाइड है, आज यूनिफिकेशन है, आज एक सिंगल विंडो ऑफ टैक्स सिस्टम है। हालांकि देखिए, कोई भी नया कानून आता है, कोई, मैं कहता हूं कि एक मैं टीवी भी खरीद लेता हूं नया, और उस टीवी के क्या क्या फंक्शंस हैं, क्या क्या उसमें उसके जो क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज मैं कर सकता हूं, उसको भी जानने में मुझे समय लगता है। तो इतना बड़ा ह्यूज, मैं कहूंगा कि अनप्रेसिडेंटेड गाइगनेटिक सिस्टम को लाए तो समय तो लगेगा। अब 5वीं वर्षगांठ आ रही है हमारे सब्जेक्ट की, 1 जुलाई 2022 को। हाँ, मैं भूलूंगा नहीं, हमारे उसी दिन हमारा सीए डे भी आता है। हमारे सीए जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी प्रोफेशन है, उसका भी जन्मदिन है, और जीएसटी का भी जन्मदिन है। फॉर्चुनेटली दोनों जन्मदिन इकट्ठे आते हैं, तो उस दिन भी हम कोई ना कोई कार्यक्रम करेंगे और सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर और डिटेल में डिस्कशन करेंगे। तो लेकिन ये जो पीएमएलए है ना सर, ये भी उस 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी की, मैं देखिए, आई एम नॉट फिट, आई एम जस्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग from the macro point of view only, that when there would be no unwarranted activities in the economy which are hampering the economic system and the revenue collection of the country, certainly this deterrent is going to play a very important role. So all professionals should gear up and actually come forward for the development of their professional studies. So इतना ही कहूंगा, और फिर से एक बार गगन जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हमारे इनकमिंग रोटरी प्रेसिडेंट भी हैं, इनकी प्रेसिडेंटशिप में हम बहुत सारी उम्मीदें लगा के बैठे हुए हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सुशील जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपकी पूरी टीम का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, जतिन का, आपके ऑफिस के सारे लोगों का, जो ये प्रोग्राम आपने ऑर्गेनाइज किया, और बड़े पेशेंटली आप सारा टाइम रहते भी हैं। मेरी तरह नहीं है, आखिरी में केवल भाषण देने आ जाते हैं। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका भी, और गगन जी आपका भी बहुत बहुत, सभी श्रोताओं का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you everyone for joining. And first of all, I would like to thank Gagan sir for joining us, and he had accepted our invitation in a single go only. And thanks Rajinder sir for giving us opportunity to use your platform. And all participants who have not yet subscribed our channel, you are requested to please join it. Please
I'm
subscribe.
sorry sir, let me intervene. This is not my platform, sir. This is our group platform, everybody. our platform sir. ये सर आप तो मेरा नेचर जानते ही हैं, ठीक है जी। तो मैं मतलब जो भी, मैं सब निकासा चेयरमैन जब पहले साल बना रीजनल काउंसिल में, गगन भाई साहब, मेरे पास कोई भी आया, मैंने कहा अच्छा ठीक है, संडे के संडे प्रोग्राम करता हूं, तू आकर बोलना शुरू कर दे। एक चांस दूंगा, केवल एक चांस। अगर तू परफॉर्म करेगा तो आगे बढ़ जाएगा, वरना पैरिश हो जाएगा। कोई ये सोचे कि दोबारा अपॉर्चुनिटी दूंगा, अगर तूने परफॉर्म नहीं किया तो ये भूल जाइयो। कोई भी सर, मैंने कम से कम 200 नए स्पीकर सर उस एक साल में डेवलप किए, जो आज तक बहुत सारे सब्जेक्ट्स में बोल रहे हैं। तो सर ये काम है हम सबका मिलकर, और सुशील जी तो स्वयं जो है एक सोशल रिफॉर्मर कहूंगा मैं इन्हें, बहुत बड़े बड़े काम कर रहे हैं। अभी इनके बारे में किसी और दिन इनकी लीलाओं के व्याख्या करेंगे। सो आपका है सर, हमारा है सर, सबका है सर। कोई भी और सुन रहे हो, कोई भी आकर इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे बोलना चाहें, कंपेयरिंग करना चाहें, कोई भी और एक्टिविटी करना चाहें, यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम।
थैंक यू गगन सर। सर आप कुछ बोलना चाह रहे थे?
या थैंक यू सुशील जी, एंड थैंक यू राजेंद्र जी। मैं सिर्फ एक ही बात कहना चाह रहा था कि पीएमएलए एक नया लॉ है, और चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स के लिए इसमें बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी है प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए। तो द वे वी प्रैक्टिस जीएसटी, सर्विस टैक्स, जब भी नया लॉ आया, आईबीसी को हमने अच्छे से प्रैक्टिस करा। दिस इज ऑल्सो एन लॉ फॉर विच देयर इज सो मच ऑफ पोटेंशियल फॉर चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स, बिकॉज नंबर्स की समझ हमसे ज़्यादा नहीं है किसी की। तो वो एक बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है। लेट अस कैपिटलाइज ऑन दैट, एंड थैंक्स अगेन, वंस अगेन राजेंद्र जी एंड सुशील जी। और
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सर। सर एक क्वेरी थी, आपने कहा हमारे लिए बहुत पोटेंशियल है इसमें, तो वेदर वी कैन अपीयर बिफोर एडजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी और वी नीड टू बी एडवोकेट फॉर अपीयरेंस?
नहीं, एजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी में भी अपेयर हो सकते हैं, ट्राइब्यूनल में भी अपेयर हो सकते हैं, सिर्फ कोर्ट में, सेशन कोर्ट के आगे वहां नहीं जा सकते।
वहां नहीं जा सकते। तो मतलब लाइक वी अपीयर बिफोर द ITAT और सी स्टैट, तो अप टू
हाँ जी,
ट्राइब्यूनल इन केस ऑफ PMLA वी कैन अपीयर।
हाँ जी,
This is good piece of information for all of us, sir.
हाँ जी।
Thank you,
ओके,
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
थैंक यू जी, थैंक यू।